Hello and welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. Now able to create content for you on the weekends so that I can supplement the content and hopefully, get more entertainment out there for you. So, yeah, you can see, it's not as perfect. It's not as lovely as it is in the studio. The camera mic is the only mic I have. I don't have a professional quality mic like I have in the studio. And I'm not too far from the air conditioning unit. And it is like 90 degrees today. So it's a hot one. AC may be running in the background. Hopefully that doesn't bother you too much. I got some sort of weird artifact going on over here. Don't know how I'm going to fix that. Anyway, so I'm not really sure like what kind of content in order to put out to do on the weekends here for you. And so, I could talk about news sometimes. I could talk about, whatever's on my mind, obviously. But today I want to talk about like how long I have been working in the industry that I'm in right now. So let's go back in time a little bit because I was always interested in news once I started reading. I was very interested in news. Periodicals give you lots of content every single day. So I'm going to show you something here from high school. I know the chroma key's screwing up, so I don't know how well you can see that. But this is basically a layout page for the journalism class I took as a sophomore at Chancellor High School. And you can't see it very well, so I'm just going to show you. It's basically, you set out a layout for a regular newspaper page. You set it out and you write headlines and stuff like that. So here's the thing about my the problems I had in journalism. Apparently, I didn't include a byline in every single one of these stories, so nobody knows who wrote it. Additionally, I have a bad habit of not using verbs in headlines. And so it's like, it's things like that always made me say, maybe journalism isn't for me. And so they wanted me to join the newspaper staff. It was the Lightning Bolt, Chancellor Lightning Bolt newspaper. And I didn't want to do it because you couldn't just walk straight into op-ed. It was the seniors, because I wanted to do op-ed. I find just straight up news just to be fairly boring. And I can't really read the news without being op-ed about it, opinion and editorialize about it. If you see my show, I always editorialize. But it's funny because I always, they had a couple of things you can cut out and use as ads and stuff like that. So I made one. It said, Bubba's Flowers have 18 wheels, but not a dozen roses. Come on down. We have everything. The 800 number. Also, the captions I wrote is like this for the photos were like a bunch of people standing around. Photo by Mike Michaels. It's so it's just interesting to look back at time. I found this in my room not too long ago, and I was just like, wow, journalism in 10th grade. Journalism I took my sophomore year in high school. After that, because I really felt I didn't belong in journalism, I got involved in the literary magazine. And the literary magazine, I took a creative writing my junior and senior year of high school. And my junior year, we were all trying to fundraise for our lit mag, the Menagerie at Chancellor High School. And the Menagerie, so we sold candy bars. We sold candy bars in school, and me being a disgusting fat body, I ended up just, eating a bunch of the candy bars. And because of that, that means that I sold the most candy bars out of everyone the entire junior year of high school. And so my senior year, I became the business manager of the lit mag. I got the most left brain job at the lit mag. And because of my efforts at the literary magazine, I was able to get a letter for Lit Mag for Chancellor High School. And I don't know how proud I should be of that, but I mean, hey, you don't have one, right? So yeah, my senior year of high school, I was getting involved in journalism, getting involved in creative writing and stuff like that. But it wasn't really until after high school where I started getting involved in radio, because you know how it is when you're a senior in high school, everyone's like, what do you want to do? And I wanted to be a radio DJ. That's what I wanted to do. But just like journalism, I wanted to be an op-ed radio DJ. I didn't want to be just like, here's the greatest hits of the 70s and 80s coming up, and we got Tears for Fears, and that's fine and good and stuff like that. And in the early 90s, that's really what you can only break into. And so back in the day, I went down, I think it was like 1996, went down to Newport News area, where I went to enrolled in a class at Christopher Newport community college, I think it is. And so my uncle, one of the patrons over at patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio, found a bunch of these old pictures of me back when I worked at 91.5 WYCS in Yorktown. And so we're going to go look through some of these old pictures of me back in the day. I'll put some overlays in post-production, and you can see what I'm talking about here. So this first picture that you're going to see is of me inside the radio station studio. And I'm loading carts. I'm putting carts in the racks and stuff like that. And I don't know if you know this, but in the 90s, it's particularly in a place like WYCS Yorktown, in the 90s, it was all like 70s gear. You had a couple. We had the weather thing was kind of you can see that down in the bottom right corner. It's like with paper sticking out of it. That's the newest piece of gear you see there, and that had like weather conditions. That printed out weather conditions. But I still had to go get the local temperature from outside. And so that was like the newest piece of equipment that we had there. And if you look at all the equipment in these pictures, you'll see that there's tons. It's all real old equipment, even for the 90s. Now let's talk about me. Let's talk about me real quick. You can see I got this camel hat that I got from Camel Cash. I already been smoking for a couple of years to this point. My big round 90s style glasses. Geez, look how skinny I was. Most of all, look at how I have no pectoral muscles. I didn't really really didn't do push-ups until I went into the Navy. So I mean, I'm sure y'all look at your old pictures of yourself back in the day and you're just like, wow, was I ever that skinny? And I remember even back then I was constantly saying, I'm a fatty. Anyway, so that's just one picture. And it's funny to think that I ever looked like that. It kind of makes sense that, I got targeted by so many bullies growing up. The next picture is of me sitting at the actual console, and you can see the pots, all the channels there with the pots to turn them up and down. You got the actual needles there to show you the levels. I mean, it's old school, and you got all these flip charts here right at eye level, and those contained all the public service announcements and stuff like that that you had to read in between songs and so forth. Also, like you can see the problem thing up there on the wall, and that has a bunch of numbers and stuff for people you can contact. If you have some sort of technical issue. And there over the top of my head, you see the cart machines. The cart machines are like basically 8-track players. And the carts, contained everything from public service announcements, commercials, and even songs. And so you'd load up these carts and they'd be associated with a certain pot down the console. And you can sit there and, just you take the carts out. And as you remember in the last picture, there's racks and racks of these carts just laying around the studio. And that's how it was done back in the day. Next picture, you got another view from behind. You can see me. I got a bunch of papers in front of me. It was, it was very strict in terms of like what exactly I could say. I mean, the guy who ran the studio, his name was Bill something. I can't remember. The guy who ran the station, if I screwed up one thing, or he'd call me right away and tell me, it's like, stick to the script, stick to the, the rotation, so forth. Don't throw in Dave Matthews songs just because you love it. And you got another photo here of the kind of the same angle from the one before that. And you see I got the Dr. Pepper, keeping myself caffeinated for those radio days. And you can see there's a CD player, there's a turntable there directly behind me. And we did everything. We did CDs, we did carts, we did tapes, we did turntables, tune up records. We did it all. And of course you see the Christian t-shirt I have that I was so fond of back in high school and thereafter. And, kind of explains why I didn't lose my virginity till I was 21. And this last picture is of me actually going outside of the studio to look at the temperature, because on an analog temperature scale, so that you can get the current temperature. So when you read, give the time and temperature, the exact temperature, and nobody calls you out on giving them the wrong temperature. So I just want to like a little glimpse into the past of like how long I've been trying to get involved in radio and how I ended up here. Because after I got out, WYCS Yorktown was sold in, I want to say, early 1997, and I lost my internship there. And that internship was based upon a class I enrolled in at Christopher Newport, And since I was the only one who had enrolled, the guy who ran the studio just ended up calling me. He's like, come on in, I'll give you some shifts. I'll teach you how to run a radio station. And I was like, that's awesome. And so after the station was sold, I returned back here to Fredericksburg from, I was living down in Newport News with who's my Uncle John, who is the patron who provided these pictures for our, viewing enjoyment. I guess he, found some old pics and scanned them for me. I appreciate it. Thank you. And so, in 1997, the station was sold, and I came back up here to Fredericksburg trying to get jobs at like WFLS and what was it called? The B101.5. And it was still the mid 90s. And so the internet was still in its infancy, and there was no way, podcasts were around for another, 5-10 years before podcasts became a thing. And so it was a real difficult market to break into, because I grew up in that 90s era where you listen to Loveline and stuff like that. I was watching Adam Carolla earlier today. I grew up in that era where I wanted to be like Adam Carolla. I didn't want to be like Dr. Drew. That guy was uptight. Didn't like that guy, but I wanted to be like Adam Carolla. And so it was a very tough market to break in. I threw my demo tape. Because back in the day, I had to record demo tapes. You couldn't just send people an MP3. It had to be a physical cassette tape. I had to make tons of copies of this demo tape, about 60 seconds of me, what I sounded like on the air and so forth, doing intros and outros and all that. And also my resume with my training and, my background, which is only, high school and the I don't know, like 18 months I'd worked at WYCS Yorktown. And it was just impossible. Nobody was calling me back. I didn't know what to do. And so in September 1997, the 15th of September 1997 is when I joined the Navy. And they said, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to be a radio DJ. And it's like, well, we have this rating called Radioman. And I was like, oh, that sounds exactly like what I want to do. And it's like, no, it's computers. It's computers and communications, which, I mean, it kind of has a little bit of overlap when it comes to being a radio DJ, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. But they did want, the Navy wanted Radioman, and they knew that and I had said radio right before. So he goes, you look like a Radioman. So I joined the Navy. Spent 4 years in the Navy, and because I had such a, when you join the military, you can get a good job, especially if you have a security clearance, which I did. I had a security clearance, top secret. And so because of that, I was able to get out of the Navy after 4 years in '01, and got a job for this defense contractor. And I was working there for about 5 years, and that's when right when I got out of the Navy is like when podcasts started becoming a thing. And while I was working in this defense contractor, is when podcasts started actually becoming blowing up and so forth, and becoming a thing when Joe Rogan started doing his thing. And so but because I was working, I was making good money at this job. I wasn't really looking at it, but I knew that I was just dying inside, because it was I had no creative outlet. When you're working on computers and you're always troubleshooting computer problems, there's not a whole lot of room for creative outlet. And so eventually, I got fired from that job, and I decided I need to be a writer. I need to be a podcaster. I need to, do what I want to do, because I felt like I spent 10 years doing what everyone else told me I should be doing. And so now here I am, a podcaster / YouTuber. And, I feel like I'm living the dream that I had when I was a teenager, when I was first working in those journalism classes, when I got my Lit Mag, when I worked at Lit Mag, got my letter for Lit Mag. And so, I think I'm living the dream. I wish it was more profitable. So that being said, I would invite you to go over to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio, become a patron. And, or you can send me money through Cash App, use the cash tag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. Send me money, send me a note. If you want to email me, you can email me at madman@fxbgpr.com. And if you send me questions, I'll answer them as best I can. On the air, I'll feature them in a mailbag segment on our regular show, which is on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. We stream that live to my YouTube channel. And so, I just want to remind you that, this is a Shock Monkey Radio. This is like a weekend supplemental. You can start expecting to see more of these. I won't necessarily be able to do it every weekend, because, weekends are kind of family time. And so, this isn't exactly a long video, not a whole lot to say, but I just wanted to stroll down memory lane a little bit with you and show you how far I've come, and the path it took for me to get where I am today. And so I want to remind you, I also have books available over at Amazon.com for digital download. Search for Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's. I got the Exit 13 books out there for digital download. Those are 99 cents each. Buy them all. And I got the Bunny Years, a memoir, which is a story about a superhero named Jack Rabbit. And I have The Ravings of a Madman, which is just a collection of stuff I've written and said on podcasts over the last 10 years that I've been doing, more like 11, 12 years at this point. So thank you again. I'm the Madman. This has been Shock Monkey Radio, and I love you.